Welcome back to Yang Daily. I'll be your host, Alex Cheney, bringing you all the Yang news you need to live your life right. More UBI pilots today, along with some less happy items. No episode tomorrow as it's my girlfriend's birthday. Sorry, them's the priorities. Let's get cracking. Quick shout out to our Tier 3 patrons Peter Park, Shay Meehan, and Nathan Stankowski, as well as all our other patrons. You keep us all informed and engaged. If any of you out there want to join these advocates of humanity first and independent journalism, head on over to patreon.com/YangDaily. It would only take a couple of bucks a month from each listener to keep this podcast and community going and growing into the future. Now on to the news. Part of the recently passed Georgia voter suppression bill that we didn't discuss before is a provision that makes it a misdemeanor offense to give water or food to people waiting in line to vote. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Georgia GOP create these long wait times in areas that tend to vote against them by opposing mail ballots and early voting and limiting polling places, among other measures. Now they are literally trying to starve out voters who do not vote for them. This is sick and anti-American. The GOP say the reason is to prevent influencing voters, but that doesn't hold up. 1. People giving out water and snacks don't ask your party affiliation first, they just facilitate voting, period. 2. If it were really pro-democracy, the bill would supply water and food from the state instead. But it does not, it just cuts off the only relief without providing anything in place of it. Moreover, there is no excuse for massive wait times to vote at all, nor the suspiciously high correlation between wait times and areas that tend to vote against the GOP, which also doesn't appear in states where the state legislature is not controlled by the GOP. Imagine that. This is just another blatant rung of the voter suppression ladder, and it should be disgusting to every advocate of free and fair elections the world over. This is why we need federal protections against voter suppression, and why we need to get rid of the filibuster in order to pass those. I'm sad to say that progressive congressional candidate Liam O'Mara has dropped out of politics. Worse, he has done so in response to blowback from an insensitive tweet. Liam responded to a right-wing candidate's questionably racist remarks on racial violence and Black Lives Matter with a tweet that said, "You dropped this," followed by a picture resembling a Klan hood. The right-wing candidate is African American and claimed to be highly offended and threatened by this tweet, even calling the police. In response to that, and whatever other blowback, Liam posted the video linked below in which he apologizes unequivocally and resigns from politics. Now, this is a touchy subject. I get why imagery of a Klan hood can be emotionally charged and arguably not appropriate to be used in such a blasé manner, especially by a public figure. But I also have to say, this is insane. He gets labeled as a racist for calling out someone else's comments as racist, and then he gets canceled for it, or rather cancels himself with help. This makes no sense to me. I have to assume that Liam had been considering dropping out and this was the last straw, or that he's extremely concerned about the effect on his non-political career or something of that nature, but regardless, this is a clear example to me of a real case of twisted cancel culture and appropriation of racism for personal gain. It's tragic because Liam is among the best advocates I have heard for UBI and M4A, able to argue for them in a very pragmatic, common-sense approach that appeals to broad swaths of the population, as you can hear in his guest appearance on the Moving Forward podcast. He also came very close to winning his last election, making him one of few competitive progressives. It is, of course, entirely his prerogative to make this decision, but I am very sad to see him go. On a brighter note, I am happy to report that my home state of Washington's new Senate Majority proposed budget includes a study on the feasibility of implementing a UBI pilot. It's not yet approved, and obviously it's multiple steps removed from actually implementing a UBI, but it is progress, and unexpected progress at that. If you live in Washington, let your state-level senators know that you support UBI. You can find those senators in the link below. San Francisco has now launched their $1,000 a month, 6-month basic income pilot for 130 local artists. Applications are being accepted until April 15th. The bad news is that eligible artists are limited to age 18 plus, under $61,000 annual income for individuals, or $87,000 for family of 4, must have suffered loss of income due to the pandemic, and must have an artistic practice rooted in a historically marginalized community. I'm not even entirely sure what they mean by that last part, but I'm quite sure it's a condition that doesn't belong in a basic income pilot. It's also limited to 13 of San Francisco's 27 zip codes. That is a lot of conditions altogether, not a fan, but hopefully it will still do more good than harm. Better yet, next month, San Francisco's newly formed Guaranteed Income Advisory Group will begin to advise the city on launching another pilot for up to 1,000 participants to receive at least $500 per month without restrictions. A final report is due by December 1st. Despite the flawed structure of many of these programs, it's still exhilarating to be reporting on a new basic income program almost daily. Remarkable how far we've come. Finally, remember the 100 Mayors in 100 Days campaign? Well, MGI have been putting out a lot of new petitions aimed at mayors who have not yet joined the basic income movement. You can find all Mayors for AGI petitions at the link below. Either find your city on the map pins or search for your city or zip code, click the link that pops up, and scroll down to see the petition link. Heck, go ahead and sign them all, but definitely sign the one for your city. And that'll do it for today's Yang Daily. Keep pressing on the filibuster so we can combat voter suppression. Bookmark and share the Washington UBI pilot study, the San Francisco Art Basic Income pilot, and the Mayors for AGI petitions. Flood Congress with calls, tweets, faxes, and letters using the ResistBot or Income Movement easy contacts below. If you need help, consult Humanity Forward, the Income Movement Aid Database, the Mission Asset Fund, or United Way, and don't forget to Yang Daily.